Let's go get him again.
Welcome back to the Robezoid channel. I'm your host, Mark, and welcome to Sampling Samples. Today we are sampling from the brand of Christian Dior, and this is part of La Maison Dior Privé collection. This one called Dioriviera. Now this fragrance is inspired by the Rose Garden near Chateau Noir in the south of France, the French Riviera. So fruity floral, we have actually two notes only listed, rose and fig leaf. So this is of course the very first fragrance from a Christian Dior that is a new release from Francis K. So their new in-house Perfume once Demachi left. Yes, Francis K has released other fragrances before this, but it was re-releases. Now this is your subscriber's choice, by the way. It won weeks back, maybe it's been a month now, where it received 17 votes total, and it was the longest tenured sample on the subbies. So it was nice to see it finally get its shine, its standalone video here today. Now, if you haven't subscribed yet, I'd appreciate if you haven't hit that subscribe button. Please do subscribe, smash that like button. Much appreciated on my part, just to have me with all the influencers perhaps, so people can have a true blue person that's actually testing out fragrances, not trying to sell you anything. This one right here, let's go under the hood. Let's take a look at some stats on Dioriviera before I start talking about it. It is my scent of the day today, but I will finish this little sample here. Release date was back in 2023, so it has a year. I don't know if it's the 1 year anniversary yet. I'm trying to remember when it got released, but it was last year. Nose, of course, Francis K. Big notes to my nose. There's only two notes listed, so we're gonna go with those, rose and fig leaf. So my little sample here is a dabber, so I don't have a piece of paper with me. It's a very small sample. I actually broke the sample yesterday, not out of anger. It just broke on me. Finally ending this, but it is my scent of the day today. Let's launch this sucker. See you later. So Dioriviera from Francis K. So again, this is his first release for the house of Dior. You kind of want to go in with a bang, personally. Now, is this a bang? Not really. It's very safe. It's a fig-based release, which isn't anything new to the Dior family. You can look at Balade Sauvage to even Dune from the 90s, among others. And maybe it's an ode to the brand, I guess. But up top, Dioriviera brings me to a watercolor-esque theme. Right away, it brought me to Hermes and Jean-Claude Ellena. Think light green patterns, a little bit of white. There's not too much color, maybe a little bit of a sandy quality, like a little light brown, but really comes out of the gate very simplistic, but with some hidden complexity. So think Jean-Claude Ellena, watercolor themes is probably the best way to really think about this release, that overall you have a very simplistic theme. If you don't take the time with this release, or you don't really pay attention to this release, I feel like it will get lost in the shuffle. Like if you're going to a Dior boutique, limited time, and you're smelling a whole bunch of fragrances, real fast, and you're not really giving this one the time of day, I really feel like this one will get lost in the shuffle. Now, don't get me wrong, some people, it will speak to them, but most people, I don't think this release is at that point. It's a very simple theme, but the more you wear it, the more you start peeling back layers. I felt the fig fruit in here, as well as a fig leaf. Now the fig leaf is actually listed, the fruit is not. And there's a little hue of color in this release, and I kind of wanted to pinpoint that because fig leaf is very watercolor, not watercolor-esque, but it's very green, it's very watery. It really doesn't have much fruity nuances. It doesn't at all. But there's a fruity aspect. Some people say it might be from the rose. You could be right. But I feel like it's more of a fig fruit and fig leaf combo. Even though the fruity aspect is super minor, like fig leaf is your primary in this. It is your primary note for the full scent. It's not going to go away, but there's a little bit of that fruity edge. Now from the fig leaf, you smell almost everything figgy here, from the wooden aspect to the sap, the green leafy aspect, the watery tones, a little bit of that lactonic quality, sap-like. Even though that portion of it is fairly muted, it kind of made me think of like cutting a stem a bit. Of just like a dandelion or something like that. It just kind of reminds me of that. A little bit of woodiness and all that good stuff. From time to time in this introduction, you get a little bit of that sunscreen coconutty factor that fig can do in certain fragrances. Now that portion of Dioriviera can be lost to a lot of noses. I don't think it's a major factor. You could blink and miss it. But it does play peekaboo a bit here and there. And the lactones in here, not coming out really creamy, almost play off of that coconutty vibe to mostly like a lotion-like vibe. So, and again, it's minor. I don't want to start saying that this fragrance is a, suntan lotion kind of, no. It really does not take you there. But there's and again, like kind of saying like it's the Jean-Claude Elena-esque type of fragrance that has like these little hidden peekaboo kind of segments here. And this is like a small section of it. It's mostly about the watery aspect, the leafy aspect, the stem-like aspect. You can go a little deeper and say, hey, there's a little bit of woods in here. And you'd be right. There's a little bit of a floral aspect, almost a white floral kind of aspect here in here. Now talking about florals, and let's go into the mid of this release. And again, not much of a backbone here. This profile of this scent really is your definition of a linear scent. The scent profile doesn't move at all. It really stays stagnant, I guess. It's probably a bad word for it, but it doesn't really move. If you don't like the top, you're not going to like the ending. It's that simple. There's nothing for you to wait for. There is some small, minute things that are added to this release towards the end, but the fig stays put. And honestly, you're getting a good fig from start to finish in here. And that's not a bad thing per se. Personally, for me, I like more vivid figs. And it's kind of funny, like if you haven't smelt a lot of fig-based fragrances, this one's gonna come off real figgy to you. But once you start getting like the Philosykoses and Premier Figuier, among others, you are going to see a different side of fig and more vivid. I feel like this one was almost like at a distance. Not a bad thing. It classes it up a little bit, but I like more density, if you understand what I'm talking about. Now, there was one big letdown in Dioriviera to me personally, and that was the rose. Francis K, if you know his resume, and I've been a follower of his, and he was in my, I'm not saying was, but he's probably in my top 10 perfumiers of all time. A lot of people don't like his work. I like his work, and there's a lot of work that he has done that's really excellent, and then there's some that are kind of, he's hit and miss a lot. But Rose and his resume with Rose, if you take a look throughout his resume, he is excellent with Rose, especially from his Maison Francis K line, especially. He is known for his rose notes, also his ambers, but among others, he's got some, he dabbles in a couple that he's really, really good at, but he truly does, he can make a rose note shine. In men's fragrances and women's fragrances, doesn't matter. Now, I was half expecting a solid rose backing this fig, but lo and behold, this rose is very faintly placed in the background of the scent, very delicate. It's soft, It's a very soft floral profile backing this. It has a little bit of the green nuances from the rose to kind of help that green theme stay alive in this release. There's always this mildly dewy accord coming in and out of the scent, and in the back end you can start sensing more of the white musks coming in, but it really keeps pushing this fig idea, and towards the end it feels like the vividness of the fig keeps losing, not its color, but yeah, maybe its depth and its color, and it's being softened so much that it feels like it's at a distance. Now that could be because of what that was maybe by planned. It might have been part of their brief that this is what they were actually going for. For me personally, I'm not a big fan of that. I felt like it was a little watered down, I guess. Dioriviera is rather thin as a scent, and it did well in the hot days that I tested it. And again, I didn't test it too much. It was 3 days, but we're getting a lot of hot days here in Canada now. We are in the summer days now, but it truly shined in those hot days, which, not that it surprised me, because there's lactones in here, but it feels like it has that density to it, but it also has a lot of thinness to it. So it's almost like one of those that's almost perfect as a signature scent. If somebody really likes this stuff, it's going to work well. And I think it can work well in a lot of seasons. So it's not as thin as advertised, but it's still thin. But it surprised me on how well it did in those hot, humid days that I did wear it. So overall, Dioriviera does not punch to my nose like many fig-based scents do. It's very mild-mannered, and with the note like rose that Francis K is known for, it felt a little tame to me. And there is some disappointments with some positives, right? It has that upscale Dior feel to it. Yes, it does. Now, depending on your wallet and your purse strings, it all depends on if that's worth it to you. I felt it was a little tame for what I wanted in a fig-based fragrance. I like different nuances with a little more depth. The rose, same thing. Honestly, it's very minute, the rose. I really felt like maybe it was planned that way, but honestly, the rose didn't do much here. It's beautiful as a scent profile. I'm not going to poo-poo it. It does not stink. It is actually a great scent, but for the price tag, you know, there's a lot of that with Francis K. Like in his Maison Francis K that's right beside me, all his fragrances that I own here. Some of them that I don't own, I appreciated, I really liked, I felt like they were blended masterfully. Like, I appreciate a well-blended fragrance, one that you can smell the quality. You can smell it here, but then there's like a blandness a little bit to some of his scents. And it was, it does happen with him from time to time. And here, beautiful scent profile, blended masterfully. You cannot docket marks for that, but the oomph isn't there to my nose, and that's a double-edged sword. Like, you start making it a little more vivid, it might take away the classiness of the scent as well, so you got to keep that in mind too. Now let's look at seasons, day, night, versatility, and performance. I think it's going to do very well in these and in most of these. So let's take a look at seasons. A lot of people will look at this and go spring and summer specifically, and I would agree with that. However, I think the versatility is pretty high on this. Some say this may go into more of a feminine fragrance. I wouldn't say that. Like, fig is highly unisex to me. It's fig leaf is the big idea here. But if you kind of stay away from like certain things, you know, I'm kind of trying to think of like, if you feel like Philosykos is too feminine, or you're thinking like some of these, what am I thinking? Like these Soleils from Tom Ford, they're the ones that kind of smell like suntan lotion. I'm not saying it does here, but it has small portions of that. If that's too feminine for you, this may be a little too feminine for you. That's pretty much where I'm going. I feel like it's unisex, but spring, summer, but also I feel like signature scent worthy. It would be in the talks of that for signature scent. Day or night, I feel like this is more of a daytime scent, but I did wear it one day, like late in the day, and it was a warmer night, in this, we'll call this summer. It's not summer yet here, but it's summer. And it did really well outside. I went outside and it was hot, and it kind of re-energized the fragrance for me, and I really liked it outside. Versatility above average. I feel it's very unisex. I feel like you can dress this one up, dress this one down. You can wear it for casual use. You can wear, you know, a really nice white dress. You can wear this to a wedding. You can, you know, this is the kind of stuff that Francis K is really good at, is that, I'm not saying it's boring, but he kind of, but it really has, it's a Swiss Army knife, that it's classy, and someone that has taste will wear something like this, that maybe they don't want something big and bold. Like for me personally, like a Jubilation 25 to something a little more like Leather Oud from Dior, something a little more brash. And I know, like fig based, I like Philosykos. It has a little more pop, a little more color to the fragrance. So that is something that kind of hits me a little bit in regards to this one. And I'm not saying it all depends on you, right? Performance wise, this one's all over the spectrum. I kind of took a look at a few reviews before I shot mine, and a lot of people say this lasts like 10 seconds on their skin, to people saying it lasts 12 plus hours. Well, hold on to your horses, first of all, the 12 plus hours, maybe, perhaps. And to the ones that's saying it's 10 seconds, well, no. Okay, well, let's stop exaggerating. Longevity to me personally, and I wore that, was it 3 days, including today? 3 days including today, that little sample. It was full to the brim. So again, it's not like huge amount of sprays here. Like if I had the actual bottle and I would be spraying and dousing myself, maybe I'd get more performance, maybe start spraying these little dabbers. I don't put it on my shirts or anything like that. I just put it on my skin, right? So longevity was 5 to 7 hours, which is good. It's decent for a fig-based fragrance. You can't really ask for more. I think one of the wearings I wore, I did write down like it was on fumes at hour 4, which seems about legit, and then sometimes it plays peekaboo a little bit. Projections, very average. It really isn't a screamer. But what I noticed, and again, I'm going to say it again, the hot weather like almost re-energized this release a little bit, which it should work well in the heat. So maybe keep that in mind too. So my final thoughts on Dioriviera, subscriber's choice, one that some of you wanted, at least 17 of you, if I remember that number correctly. So my final thoughts are, just like a lot of Francis K's, it's constructed really well. It's enjoyable enough, especially for a fig lover like me. Like I stated earlier in this review, it's missing larger brush strokes, a little more vivid fig fruit or even fig leaf to me would have been nice at this price point. And against all other figs in the game, and again, that's what a fragrance reviewer should be doing. Like, yes, I'll tell you my personal thoughts, like how I feel personally, but again, looking at the gamut of pricing versus all the ones that are released before it, discontinued or not, how does it go against them? And at this price point and against all other figs in the game, I think this one misses the mark a bit. The quality's there, no doubt. It does smell classy. I gotta give that to Francis. And even as a Dior lover myself, and I like to defend the brand, especially against all these Chanel purists that think Chanel does no wrong, this one didn't do much for me. And that's complete honesty. Like, I prefer Dior's than Chanel's most of the time. I feel like there's a little more personality to them personally. It's good, this release, but it's not excellent. And that's where the price tag goes, do I just want a good release? As his first launch of the brand, especially in the Privé lineup, my final thoughts on there is he kept it safe. Perhaps a little too safe for me personally. So if I had to give it a score, and again, I have a lot of Privés right now on my wish list. Like, I got like several, and I own maybe 24. Like, I own quite a bit of the Dior Privés, but I'm always looking to purchase more of them. I have this extensive wish list of the line. This did not hit me enough to make it go climb up top. Probably not even gonna hit my top 5 of getting it. I would probably get this, and this is where I kind of gauge my score, is if somebody has like a partial bottle on Facebook or on these selling sites that they have like a 125 ml bottle and they've decanted 75 ml and they're just selling 50 mls of it, and it's around like 100 and some Canadian, I might just snatch it up just cause I like it. But it's not one of those that I'm going to be actively searching out for it. So that's where the score comes into play. I would say I'm going to rate this one a 6 out of 10. Fairly low for a Privé. Fairly low, 6. And it's a good scent. Like, it's not I'm poo-pooing it on like build or anything. It's just the way I felt with it. I know the classiness of it. I love the... you know, I really see the artistic side of this one, but at the same time, I don't know. I didn't get wowed. So now that you've heard my take, I'd love to see yours in the comments below. Good, bad, and the ugly, especially the ones that recommended this one or wanted me to review this one. Maybe you felt bad for it, and that's maybe why you voted, but I'd love to see your take on it, good or bad. It's okay. You know, the Chanel purists can come in and start bashing it. Sure, go ahead. The Dior lovers, same thing. We can have an open mind and talk about, you know, one of our favorite brands and just say, no, this wasn't it. To me, it wasn't it. I was expecting more, honestly. And as always, a great report fragrance will make a lasting impression. Choose your scent, especially your fig-based one, especially during the summer. It's a great, great note to utilize in the summer. Choose that note and your scent wisely. Thanks for watching, YouTube. Have a good one.